WACCBIP came out of the energy of many young people in the department at the time.
WACCBIP's excellence really stems from teamwork.
We are at the cutting edge of technology.
We make excellence the bar for training at WACCBIP.
We believe in excellence in teaching and excellence in research.
To do high quality science, to be able to publish and to make an influence in the scientific world.
The West African Center for Cell Biology of Infectious Pathogens, WACCBIP, began in 2014 as one of the World Bank African Centers of Excellence, located in the University of Ghana, Legon. In 10 years, it has grown into a leading center for the training of the next generation of African scientists and is spearheading groundbreaking research into infectious diseases, genetics research, and research into non-communicable diseases like cancer. Equipped with advanced technology platforms and state-of-the-art laboratories, WACCBIP provides fertile ground for exploration and discovery.
The main impetus for the center came from some workshops that we used to do with the American Society for Cell Biology.
It was my honor and pleasure to be part of a group of cell biologists who obtained funding around 2006 for short courses on the cell biology of African diseases.
This was long before WACCBIP was even a dream, and the workshop was hosted at the old Department of Biochemistry, which exists down the road from where WACCBIP currently stands.
In 2010, with our move to this building, we had space. And also, that also coincided with a period that we had younger faculty who had undergone training in the department.
It was around that time that I had come back to the department. And the head of department at the time, who was Prof. Sami Saki, asked me to be responsible for these workshops, to be sort of the coordinator for these workshops. We were able to engage with a lot of young people in the sub-region because each workshop we had about 20 to 25 young scientists from Ghana and other African countries. And the conversations we had and their desire to learn and the appetite for such opportunities, that was what drove us to think about how we could make this a permanent presence or a permanent opportunity for young African scientists.
I wrote a grant application designed to obtain more funds to run more of these workshops. My application was not successful, but Gordon, whose vision is much broader than mine, was able to take some of the ideas that we had put into that application and expand them tremendously and significantly into an application that ultimately was submitted to the World Bank, and many of you know was successful.
The idea about WACCBIP really was a call from the World Bank trying to help higher institutions to set up the ring. So I called Gordon and said, Gordon, I think you should host this.
So basically, I came back to the department and I got all my colleagues together, mostly the younger ones who were full of energy and who listened to me because they were younger than me. So I put them together, Patrick, Lydia, Teresa, Osborne, Abidad. There was another lady called Marian Yako. The vice chancellor at the time, Professor Ernest Ayite, was determined to turn the university into a research-intensive university.
WACCBIP first came to my attention when Professor Gordon Awandare approached me about the possibility of creating such a center. And I thought they were very important for the university. I was struck by the fact that he himself was a very young researcher. Most of the people involved with him were equally young. And I was looking for young people at the university to drive change.
An initial $8 million grant from the World Bank and further funds from the Wellcome Trust allowed WACCBIP to build a world-class center adjoining the Department of Biochemistry. equipped with teaching labs and creating an environment that fosters scientific research and learning. The center runs master's, PhD, and postdoctoral training.
I'm very proud of WACCBIP because it has leveraged on the initial funding of $8 million from the World Bank and attracted more than 50 million US dollars for training of scientists right here in Africa.
WACCBIP's core mandate was around infectious diseases. Now, as we grew over the years, we noticed that non-communicable diseases are also coming up strongly in our part of the world. And so our funding portfolio evolved to starting to apply for grants that were involved in non-communicable diseases. Our ability to evolve with changing research interests over the years, I think, has kept us relevant.
It's been an honour for me and a privilege to help in some small way with that early development, and then to chair WACCBIP's advisory board over these last 10 years. A key success of that teaching of WACCBIP in the early years was the contribution of early career faculty, both from the north and also local faculty from Africa.
The next phase of the center was to consolidate what we had started and then to basically make an impact.
So began an investment into recruiting some of the best African scientific minds to join the center as postdoctoral fellows to conduct research and to teach.
I was looking for opportunities to come back, and because I wanted to drive research on the continent.
I was one of many immunologists at my institution in London. I'm one of only a few immunologists in Ghana. So when I think of where I can have impact, if I look back at my life when I retire one day, where can I have the greatest impact? It is in trying to build up the ecosystem back home where we are admittedly, a little bit deficient, versus making a small contribution to an ecosystem that's already well established.
As a geneticist, I was keenly aware of the dearth of genetics research in African people. And what was striking is it's a huge gap in knowledge. And Africans happen to be the most genetically diverse population. After my first postdoc, when I decided I wanted to move back to Ghana, I wanted to work in an area that had a huge impact. I mean, there are practically no genetic studies being conducted here. So I decided to focus on breast cancer, which happens to be the number one leading cancer in the world currently.
The center also focused on deepening its network with other African scientific centers.
Through my collaboration with WACCBIP, I think we've achieved enormous in our science. We've developed lots of talents that are actually beneficial to African institutions, which have also been exported across the world. I think WACCBIP is the next level of scientific institutions that we expect in Africa that do not only do research for publications, but also contribute to data that is used for translation for better public health across the great continents.
WACCBIP has trained more than 450 graduate students, masters and PhD students, as well as postdoctoral fellows from 19 African countries.
WACCBIP has more than prepared me, and I wouldn't say this because I've just stayed in WACCBIP, but for the fact that WACCBIP has given me the opportunity to go rub shoulders with my colleagues in other countries, and I'm willing to and I'm ready to take up any challenge anywhere.
The PhD training I had here was holistic, and indeed it has helped me gain that confidence and also to find solutions to problems.
The teaching environment at WACCBIP was quite unique. I found that management usually would invite visiting lecturers from either other institutions or outside the country to come in and teach us, and then teach us the practical ways of doing research and then thinking about problems to solve it through research. So
the fellowship that we were getting was about developing leaders in science, not just about training PhD students, but also building leaders for the next generation, or at least future scientists, future science leaders in Africa.
The opportunity to deepen the center's impact presented itself during the COVID-19 pandemic. WACCBIP had the right scientists and infrastructure in place to lead the science that informed the government of Ghana's policy response.
WACCBIP did play a very central role in our response.
We were able to have a strong impact and mobilize the teams to respond first for testing and then for doing the research that we're doing now.
One of the critical areas WACCBIP did excel was in the research, in the genomic sequencing and in the seroprevalence studies. And this really helped us not just to map out where the diseases are, but which variants we were dealing with, and especially when we started easing restriction.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, our researchers here, using the high-performance computing system, were able to assemble the genome of the virus, and as a result of that, gain a lot of insight into its transmission, subtypes, variation, and possible mutation.
Most of the work that is conducted at the center is at a molecular level. If you have a blunt cutlass, you don't think you can cut down a bigger tree. It's just the shrubs you can. But if you have a sharp cutlass, which is also basically the tools that we have, then we can confront bigger and higher molecular kind of questions and address them.
We have a tradition that we say in the center known as the WACCBIP machinery, and that comprises of a group of people who believe in a common goal and who are determined to make sure that they achieve excellence at everything that they do, whether it is research, whether it's training or teaching, and then the entire back end that nobody gets to see. Really teamwork and very diligent leadership that makes us achieve the excellence that we are known for.
I love working at WACCBIP because the leadership of WACCBIP identifies young talent and then give them opportunity to grow. I've been here 10 years because I believe that I've had opportunities that I wouldn't have had elsewhere.
We have created innovative and engaging ways of interacting with communities that we work with. We conduct and engage our communities in outreaches, schools engagement activities, and a whole lot of activities that make science fun and exciting for the public.
WACCBIP has demonstrated that it is possible for us to remain in Africa and produce high-quality scientists.
I think its focus is on two things. One, doing the research, but also developing the researchers of the future. And that is where I think WACCBIP has a special strength, focusing on developing the researchers of the future.
We are training all these young people, but where are they going to work? If you look in the US or in Europe, majority of PhD graduates don't stay in academia. They go into industry, they go into a variety of jobs.
In Ghana and in fact most of West Africa, we don't have a biotech sector. We have some pharmaceutical companies, but most of them just do manufacturing. Because of that gap, many of the things that we've done have gotten to a dead end because the uptake is not there. And so we are trying to push for that next level.
We also need to build the ecosystem here of a biotech. So we have a program which is a biotech entrepreneurship program. And the idea is that now we are going to be seeding people who not just have the ideas, but they will try to do some startups. Of course,
the idea of building private sector-based research to complement the academic research that is being built at centers like WACCBIP, I think is a natural evolution of the development of the center. WACCBIP's goal is to train and seed science around the continent. What better way to seed it than through private companies that do the work like what we do here?
the next phase is on the shoulders of the next generation, the younger scientists that we brought here. Very talented group of people.
Happy 10 years, WACCBIP.
Happy 10 years, WACCBIP.
Happy 10th anniversary, WACCBIP.
Happy 10 years to WACCBIP.
Happy 10 years, WACCBIP.
Happy, glorious and illustrious 10th anniversary, WACCBIP.
Happy 10th anniversary, WACCBIP.
Many congratulations to everybody involved in the WACCBIP story.